Hi, my name is Zach Goob, and I, along with Sasha Beeling, are with the law firm of McAfee and Taft. We're here today to provide some training and information about cybersecurity and cybersecurity risks that face your organization. This video training was made on behalf of the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, or OMAG, which is the primary provider of insurance and risk management solutions for many Oklahoma cities and towns.
With computers and reliance on internet-connected devices being an everyday feature in our lives, it seems like we can't go a single day without receiving a notification that some city or company experienced a data breach. Whether from a lost or stolen laptop that had personal information on it, a ransomware attack, or from a hacker getting into a city's computer network and trying to poison the water supply. The reason for this training is that cyber attacks are on the rise, and state and city governments are the targets. The goal of this program is not to scare you, but to equip you with the information to protect both yourself individually and your community from becoming the victim of a cyber criminal.
We'll give a brief overview about information security and common cybersecurity attacks and threats, as most cybersecurity incidents are preventable and occur as a result of human action or error. Since 90% of all cyber attacks started through a phish attack, this training focuses on a phishing attack.
We'll also cover what to do and not do when you are being phished, and go over what to do in the unfortunate event that you fall victim to a phish attack.
All communities and organizations face risk. And when we think security, we often default to physical security like locked doors, controlling access to a physical structure, proper disposal of documents, and things of the like. But like physical security, we also need to consider those things we may not see or the tools we use every day, like a computer, our work network, and what actions we take to secure electronic information. Everyone needs to do their part to keep information safe from disclosure so that it remains confidential, to maintain the integrity of that information so that it's safe from unauthorized or accidental modification, and to ensure that information and information systems are available when you need to access the information that you want. Now, you may be thinking, well, I don't deal with our network security, I'm not responsible for that IT stuff, but if you have access to any confidential, proprietary, or other non-public information or data, or if you use the internet, access a computer or an online device on your work network,
then you are a potential target for a cyber criminal. You are on the front line for keeping your network and online systems and your organization's information safe and secure from the cyber criminals. No matter your actual job function, keeping your electronic information and network is also part of your job.
According to the 2022 report of the economic impact of cyber attacks on municipalities, in 2021, the most preferred method of attack against state and local governments was ransomware, a type of malware that locks users out of their devices or blocks access to files until a sum of money or some other type of ransom is paid. And as mentioned earlier, about 90% of all cyber attacks start with phishing. Human error causes most data breaches and other information security failures.
You may also be thinking, well, cyber criminals aren't interested in a small community, or we're small and we don't have a lot of money to pay a ransom. But that's not entirely true. And if anything, you and your community are more likely to be an ideal target to a cyber criminal. Think of it like this. Cyber criminals know that a smaller municipality may not have the budget or resources available to protect itself compared to a larger municipality. The cyber criminals aren't going to waste time attacking a well-armored fortress, or to use the reference of the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf, the brick house. Rather, cyber criminals are going to go after the wood and the straw houses.
And there's no way to guarantee 100% protection. The goal of this training is to make you and your city a less attractive target. Think of it like this. If cyber criminals are a hungry bear, you don't need to run faster than the hungry bear chasing you. You just have to run faster than the person next to you. A cyber attack can have many consequences, including an impact to operations, like inability to provide public services, utilities, fire, police, or ambulance services. It can also cause a loss of money or services. If a city has to pay a ransom, this may force the city to reallocate resources from other public programs or services to pay that ransom. Cyber attack can also cause a loss of public trust, a loss of people wanting to have their sensitive information with your city.
The bottom line is that your community depends on your network and IT resources to serve your community, and for you to be able to use those resources to do your jobs. And they expect and rely on you to protect their information and the infrastructure that serves the community.
Cybersecurity threats are a real and constant risk for everyone. Human error causes most data breaches and other information security failures. There are so many ways to fall victim to a cyber attack, and phishing is one of the most popular social engineering attack types and what this training focuses on. I've used the term social engineering. What is that? Social engineering is an attack vector that relies on human interaction and often involves psychological manipulation to trick people into making mistakes or giving away sensitive information. Phishing is a form of social engineering. In a phishing attack, cybercriminals are trying to trick you so they can obtain or compromise information about you or your company and its network and computer systems. As mentioned earlier, about 90% of all cyber attacks start with phishing. And this is something you're most likely to experience personally and professionally.
Cybercriminals prefer this method because it's low effort and yields high rewards. The criminals are able to send out their phishing scam to multiple targets and wait until someone takes the bait. So be aware that phishing scams aren't just limited to a single form of communication, like an email. To make their attack more effective, the criminals may also call you and make you think that the email message you received is legitimate.
In addition to the standard email phishing attack, there are other types of phishing scams. Spear phishing is where the criminals provide information about their target to the target to trick them. Smishing is phishing through SMS and text messages. Vishing is through phone or voice communications. Whaling is when the criminals target the high-level executives of a company, as those individuals typically have access to highly valuable information that others may not.
We've stressed a lot that 90% of all cyber attacks started with phishing. So in this segment, we're going to talk about how to analyze a message to determine if it's a phish attack. We'll show a few examples, and then we'll talk about what to do in the event that you are a victim of a phish.
A phish attack is a form of social engineering that uses email or text messages that tries to create a sense of urgency, curiosity, or fear in order to get you to click on the links to malicious websites or reveal sensitive information, or get you to open an attachment that contains malware by posing as a trustworthy source.
For example, do you remember those fun and silly band name generator websites where you would type in the street you grew up on and your mom's middle name? That was a form of phishing to get you to reveal the answers to common security questions.
So how do you spot a phish? First, suspect everything. It's always a phish, and use the SLAM method. For any communication, email, text, even a phone call, consider the sender or the source. Does the communication contain links or attachments? And analyze the message. Is it asking you to do some action? SLAM, sender, links, attachments, message. Next, we'll look at an email message and apply the SLAM method. The training will demonstrate that method on a computer screen and mobile device, because let's face it, many people check email on their phones, and those smaller screens lead to inadvertent clicks and downloads. Take a minute and pause this video to take some time to read this email and resume the video. Now let's break down the email. First, again, suspect everything. It's always a phish. Now let's use that SLAM method. S for sender. Check the sender to make sure it is a known email that's trusted, but that can be tricky. Watch out for slight misspellings. Check the domain name. Be aware that it can be spoofed or the company domain name can appear to be correct, but it's from an email address that your organization doesn't have. For example, I know that my company is McAfeetaft.com, and I know that they do not have an email address of it@McAfeetaft.com, but a new employee may not. So also ask yourself, is the message coming from someone you know or regularly interact with? If it is someone you don't normally interact with, that could be a warning. If it's from someone you do interact with on a regular basis, it still doesn't mean that it's legitimate. Remember, suspect everything, it's always a phish. Regardless, when in doubt, call the person directly using a number you know to be valid that you obtained from a separate source. Not any of the contact information that's in the message that might be a phish, as criminals may provide fake contact information that puts you in touch with them and not the person you actually intend to contact. Always check the timestamp. Was it sent during normal operating hours or close to a weekend or holiday? Most cyber attacks start close to the end of a workday, or on a weekend, or on a holiday, as people let down their guard because they're trying to get home and get done with their work. In this example, the timestamp makes this email seem more legitimate, but let's keep checking. Okay, SLAM. So we covered S, covering L. Links. Does it contain a link? If so, be on the guard. If the sender doesn't normally send links and now they are, that's suspicious. In the next example, we'll demonstrate how to hover over any links contained in a message to check that link's legitimacy. To A, for attachments. This email didn't have an attachment for us to open, but beware of any attachments that may come. A picture, a word, a PDF document. It doesn't have to be a zip folder or something formal. For example, in one attack on a company that had strong network security, criminals were able to get into a heavily guarded fortress through a phish attack. They posed as a nearby restaurant many of the employees visited and sent an email that had a menu attached that contained malicious software to infiltrate the network. Slam. Looking at M for message, let's check the content. Does it contain a generic greeting like sir or madam? Is there a signature for the sender? Look to see if the message has any call to action or an unexpected request like asking for a money transfer or gift cards. Check to see if the message is expressing urgency or trying to play to your emotions or curiosity or even fear. Look at the message itself. Check for any awkward wording, phrasing, misspellings, or mistakes in grammar. Sometimes, to make you think you've gotten a legitimate communication and to make the attack more effective, criminals may also call or text you to see if you received the message. So always be on guard.
Now that we've gone over the SLAM method for spotting a phish, next we'll demonstrate how to hover over embedded links two ways. First on a computer screen, and then on a mobile device, and apply the SLAM method and how to safely interact with these links. So as you can see, on a computer screen, it's easier to read an email and not inadvertently click on links or download attachments compared to a mobile device. So when you're presented with links, look to see if the message identifies where the links go. To do this, you're going to hover over the link by placing the cursor above the link, but don't click it. When we look at the unsafe link, the message says the link goes to coolnewwebsite.com. But when we hover over the hyperlink, the URL does not match what we're expecting, which is coolnewwebsite.com. The other example is supposed to send us to google.com, but when you hover over that link, it doesn't match. Now, let's look at the safe links. The message here says that it should go to an OMAG website, but it doesn't give us the URL. So let's hover over and see what it shows. As we see here, this link goes to omag.org. And because I know that omag.org is a legitimate site, I feel comfortable clicking this link. Now, let's hover over the example below. In this example, I'm expecting the URL to match what it says. So let's see and make sure that it goes to google.com. As I place the cursor over the hyperlink and just wait for it to pop up. And now we see it goes where it says it goes. So this is a safe link. As I'm applying the SLAM method, if I've determined that the email is a phish, I should delete it. And depending on the email platform that I'm using, I can also flag it as spam or phish. One other option is you can also report it to the IT department as phishing so that they can block this domain. But however, when you do this, do not just forward the email directly to your IT department. Rather, open a new email message and drag this message over as an attachment. So that way your IT department can glean the necessary metadata from the message. Now let's look at the same email on a mobile device. First, you can do the hover over technique on a mobile device, but it's not ideal because to get the same pop-up to see that URL, you have to actually hold down on the link with your finger until the prompt appears. Then after that, you can lift your finger. Because of this, you risk a quick tap and actually clicking on the link and starting the cyber incident. So again, it's better just to wait until you get to a bigger computer screen. Okay, let's start with the message that says that the link goes to coolnewwebsite.com. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna press and hold down. Oops, I didn't hold it down long enough, and now we went to the website. Okay, now let's try that again. When I press and hold down on the link, it shows that the URL is radaalada.com, not coolnewwebsite.com that I was expecting. For completeness, let's do the same for the unsafe google.com. The pop-up shows bing.com. Now let's look at the safe links side of this demo. Hovering over the word website, we see that the link directs to omag.org/trainonline. And the word here goes to google.com, which both of these are as expected. There are many times when you may not get back to a computer in time and everything else in the message seems legitimate. In this case, just call the sender out a number you know to be a valid number and make sure that the email is safe and legitimate. The extra minute it takes to do this can save days of heartache and headache. Again, it's not ideal to interact and use this hover over technique on mobile devices. So if you can wait to get to a computer, it's best to do that. And in the event that you can't, just call the sender directly just to make sure that it's a legitimate email.
Here's a short summary of what to do and what not to do. So what to do? Again, suspect everything. It's always a phish. Verify using known contact information, nothing from the message you actually received. Use the SLAM method, and for any phish message, follow organization procedure. Delete it, flag it, report it. When you encounter a phishing message, do not click on any link, enter in any information, open any attachment, don't reply, don't engage using contact information in the message. In the unfortunate event that you become the victim of a phishing attack, here's what to do. Immediately disconnect your device from network access because you want to try to minimize the time the cybercriminal has access to that network and other devices and information on the network. If your device is wired, unplug the internet connection. If it's wireless, disable wireless and Bluetooth features on it. Go to airplane mode. Immediately report, don't hide it. This will allow the appropriate personnel to be on alert and watch for any suspicious activity. If you entered in any information into the message or gave any information to a phishing attack, like a login, a password, credit card information, get to a separate network and device, change that password, or notify your credit card company or other financial institution of the situation so they can be aware of suspicious activity. Don't make any public announcements. Only discuss the event with IT and chain of command and those that need to know in accordance with procedures and policies. And when you talk, avoid using the term breach because it has a special meaning in these circumstances. Refer to the situation as an event or incident. For example, an event is an observable occurrence or change, which can be negative, like sending an email or unauthorized use of system privileges. An incident is an event that violates a company's security or privacy policies. For example, a lost thumb drive, missing paper file, or a malware attack are all incidents. A breach is an incident that meets specific legal definitions and criteria, and can sometimes create obligations on your company to, for example, report that breach to those affected. Not all incidents are breaches, and usually a lawyer is involved to determine if an incident rises to the level of a reportable breach. The bottom line, whenever you find yourself talking about a cyber event, avoid saying breach. Say event or incident, like a cyber event or cyber incident.
In closing, here are some tips to protect yourself personally and your organization from a phishing attack. Use the SLAM method. Also, suspect everything. It's always a phish. Make sure your passwords are long and strong and use a different password for every account. One way you can do this is to get a password manager, which is also just a good cyber hygiene practice.
Use multi-factor authentication or MFA with all accounts and login credentials. And when you're viewing an email or other message on your cell phone, wait till you get to your computer or directly contact that sender using information that you have obtained from a separate trusted source.
Here are some tips to protect yourself personally. Freeze your credit report with all major credit agencies, and there should be no charge associated with this. Also, you can sign up for a notification service to send you a message if your email or passwords have been exposed. For example, a free and legitimate site is haveibeenpwned.com. Remember that even if you receive a message from more than one attack vector, that does not mean that the message is legitimate. So always think before you click and reply.